apparent that the VoIP industry and the ICT industry, are not separate worlds anymore. They're going to integrate with each other. And our objective today is to share some of the knowledge to help hosters sell, support, and bring it to the market, to their new clients in this overly crowded market. So that's our objective.
As long as you bring the value to the customer, that's when you have the starting point to discuss how to bring it successfully.
All right, great. What's your opinion about the statements I wrote?
Well, I agree with Patrick, but to add something just for VoIP doesn't really make any sense. So you need to sell some sort of a solution to the end customer through a channel, and well, communication is a big part and a very important part of that, and it's difficult to deliver. So you have to think of how to do it, and in any case, you have to find a partner to help you with it. That would be my advice.
All right. So the value-added services are really important, but why do we need value-added services? Because the core service, telecommunication, that's the only thing people need, right? What do you think about it, Rob?
Well, I think the core service is not only, let's say, voice, and when we talk about apps, apps are one thing, but when we talk about small, medium-sized businesses, they need much more than apps, and so they need a communication system here, and I think it's a great opportunity for everyone in this space to make more money by selling communication solutions to the companies, so PBX, UC solutions, and by selling them, integrating this with a workflow, with the processes in the company. And I think that's a great opportunity, and it's a great market opportunity for hosts and service providers.
All right, but then the question arises that when you have to deliver communication systems that route and intelligently handle communications, how do you explain that to the micro SMB user that's now getting hosting services? Because many clients of hosting providers are, the micro SMB group here, and they're only using just the WhatsApp VoIP app. So how do you explain that? Can you elaborate on that, Greg?
I think I can give a very good example. Look at what GoDaddy have done. They've purchased Freedom Voice. They're focused, they've got 40 million customers, they're focused SMB customers, they recognise they need to bring voice into their portfolio. If you look at that approach, they try and make voice simple, and I think that is what this audience here is all capable of doing, is actually creating simplicity, because I think the biggest mistakes that we in our industry make is we think about technology and whether it's VoIP or whether it's UC, the users don't care. They want a user experience, and they want you guys that are already providing a number of services to say, how can I make that simple? How can I make that easy? And if you can automate that and make it logical from this perspective of what a user wants, then you guys can be maybe a very interesting channel, or maybe a more effective channel than even the traditional telcos players that are already in this space.
All right, interesting answer, but how do you make it more easy? Because we're all talking about value-added services, but from my idea, but I can't give ideas actually. Many companies make it very difficult. How do you think how do you make it easy, Robert? I see you.
Yeah, well, that's basically the heart of our proposition. So thank you for the question. But what we do, we offer Flux at Mitel, and Mitel Flux sort of takes away the hassle of the delivery, because obviously everybody knows that the workplace is delivered from the cloud. You need all kinds of software, but the deliverance with compliance issues and
to go on further, deliverance is not the importance of the users, maybe for the reseller, but how do you make it easy for the user to understand the benefits? That's actually what we're talking about. So.
Yeah, well, we develop tools that come the closest to the end customer as possible, and then we give them to our partner network, so they can customize, pick and bundle services, customize, and then deliver a genuine value-added proposition to the end customer.
I think Swyx is also doing that, right? So
yeah, so I think I'm also not agreeing here with this easy part. So because when we talk about, let's say, there are different pockets of the market. So there's a small, so let's say the very small enterprise, but there are also then small to medium-sized enterprises, so from 10 to 500 intelligent call routing, so can customize it to the needs, the integration with application, all these kind of things. I will not summarize this as easy, so because the thing is here, it can be also complex, but the thing is here, is this creates a value for the customer, and this creates, by the way, also for hosts and service providers, a kind of stickiness. So when you address through a reseller or directly the end user here, and if you are able here, let's say, to sell such a solution, this customer stays with you forever. So the stickiness of the solution is here also very important. And the trend is very clear here. Customers, they want a solution in the cloud. I think that is, they want the solution hosted, and to, let's say, to use this trend and to sell your services through a reseller channel or direct, I think that is something which is where the money is in. And that's not about easy. So I think it's all about, let's say, creating value, and that's not necessarily easy. So
Yeah.
So maybe I would add to that I think the key part is really packaging. So you do the right thing for the right segment. And that's going back to the original sort of question that came up about communication solution. It's not about the features and functionality. So at one end of the segment, you will have a very simple proposition because that's what you can afford and automate and make something that is really scalable at the price that the end customer would like. At the other end, you have something that is more project-oriented, where the customer has a core value that they want to achieve with their business communication. At that part, you can still fulfill that with a cloud proposition, but it's going to be through different means.
All right, interesting. So you always need to have those two focus points to get successful in the market.
And I think when you look at the channels in this, the important part for the channel is communicate that to the end user. Because if you are unclear and try to do both at the same time, then you're going to confuse end user and you're going to have a problem with what you would perceive as complexity with VoIP or hosted communication.
All right, and a question that lies behind this is, how do you communicate a complex proposition to the relatively easy to understand products that hosting companies are providing?
I disagree. I think you have to make it simple. I think that's what the hosting business have always done. And I think, when I say go look at GoDaddy, look what Freedom Voice do, look how they try and simplify the whole flow of doing voice. And I think that's the way forward, in my opinion. And also it goes a step further. I think my company, I've been coming here the last couple of years to HostingCon, I've been at World Hosting Days. We work with companies like Open Exchange, where we actually try to embed the communications within the applications itself and see how that works. We see the traditional ways. We're a service provider as VoiceWorks in the Netherlands and Germany, so we've tried all the different go-to-market approach. But one conclusion I have is, it's where the users decide they want to communicate in whichever application it's a vertical, a horizontal application. So within your portal, within your services, that's where we should place the communication. And that's where we should make it simple. And there's enough disruptive technologies in the marketplace, with open source, with RTC, that can make these things possible. And it's for you guys to challenge us to say, make it simple for us so we can go sell it and be successful with our customers. And that's what I think all of us should do, in my opinion.
All right, so be where the customer is and make your product available and easy to...
Yeah, find understand in your channels where you do your business, what's that use case around communication, how can we help you achieve that? That's the way I think we should do our business. But that's my
Right.
opinion.
Totally agree. Yeah.
All right, great. We're heading to the next subject, and next subject is how to maximize profit by smart bundling and integration. We already started a little.
the stickiness is also there. So because once the customer is signing up to your service, the customer stays with you, and you have the possibility to also, let's say, sell other services then through this customer. And I think that's I would complete the sentence, but it's really worthwhile to do this.
Yeah, so you're really enthusiasm. You want to keep them in your platform by looking at the longer term picture.
And how to integrate is also something which is, let's say, okay, if it's simple to integrate, so of course all the vendors, they have portals and they have platforms, everything to support our guys there. But let's say if it's too simple, so then you have a lot of competition there. So it's so you need to be aware of that this is a great chance for you to let's say to make more money. It's simple as that, right?
All right. So that's about the delivery, but how do you integrate it so that you get more advantages, except for pricing advantages? Do you have an idea about it, Greg?
I think it's not about price. I think if we look at, say, VoiceWorks, we have like two typical types of channels. We have the traditional voice resellers, and we've got the IT partners. The IT partners are far more effective at selling propositions, total solutions, than the voice providers that are just looking at the margins and seeing it from a commodity perspective. So they look at providing a whole range of functionality in one relationship, giving them the support that their customers require, and that's how they become successful. And again, I really challenge that you can make it simple, we just make it complicated, and that's, I think, where you look to try and look at a natural flow of how you can bring voice into the hosting domain. Year and a half ago, we did a presentation at Summa with Open Exchange about 6 steps to becoming a voice player as a hoster, from creating a number, to routing it to mailbox, to going to the whole user flow of how you can bring voice in. We even looked at putting widgets in websites.
But that requires a different approach from hosters that are, used to just pushing a simple product.
Yes, so you basically have to help them and arrange that for them, do it for them, and together create that proposition, and they go sell it and be effective. And we have to evolve all our services to make that possible for them.
All right, and how does Mitel do that, and how do you do that as a? So what do you think about
So what we do, we provide, like Ralph said, the stickiness of a product that can glue different services together. So while you have a lot of different commodity products when you try to do hosting, when you can bring those together and create a value for the end customer and for the companies that is buying them. So when you can get the internet access, the fixed line traffic, the mobile traffic, applications.
You can really bundle services and deliver one package.
Then you don't bundle features anymore. You bundle value that the company is needing for their day-to-day business. They don't need to care about technology anymore or features or functions. They buy something that they need, and that works.
All right. So we all agree with it, actually, right? Almost. Yeah. But Rolf, I see you thinking.
No, it's good.
Yeah. So it's not hard. You need only the right people. But I'm very curious in the audience. Do you think? Do you agree with the experts? Raise your hands. Everyone's agree. Yeah. Who doesn't agree with the experts? That is doing. You're adapting. So I'm very curious what your opinion is about it.
I think technical, it's just a project. So it's maybe a one time and then afterwards everything works. But it's mainly selling. It's a completely new. If I see my account managers and I say, "Oh, we're going to sell voice," I think they will. Oh my God, voice! I do hosting. I know all about hosting, but voice, I don't know. It's something new. It's going to be very difficult. So and I've also got resellers, and they will say the same. My account managers, I can train them, I can give them incentives to sell, but with my channels, it's a lot more difficult.
But do you think it's only training, or is it more than that? And what's your question to the experts?
Well, I agree that we have to make it simple, because then maybe it's easier to sell, but still it's a totally different world. I see it the opposite way around as well. I see guys who are selling voice, and now they have to sell hosting. The first 2 years they're basically almost drowning. So my question to you is, it's not just hard to integrate, but once you've done that, how much chance do you have to sell it? Because you have to actually be able to sell it very easy. And if it's a one-click install, I agree, then it might be easy. But all right.
So to summarize, how can we make VoIP a one-click install and forget service and no support, no double knock behind the router and someone's going, hey, I want my audio and that sort of stuff. How can we make it that simple? Is there someone who wants to respond to that?
Yeah, I'd like to respond.
Robert.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's difficult, different aspects. I can hear myself. Okay. I agree that it's not so easy. If we look at our partner base, they struggle to get all the salesmen up to speed with solution selling. It is solution selling instead of product selling, obviously. So it takes a lot of training. Furthermore, we believe that we need to automate the channel. That's what we do. So we really try to make it easy, pick them on the services, deliver them. And if we deliver a PBX, it is spawned in our own data center. It's delivered through the channel, over all the tiers, to the end customer, and it works within seconds. So it's really we really make it easy. And well, that of course is a sort of a trick. And that's what customers want. That's what the channel wants. And then in that way you can prove what you're selling, and then eventually we can see the salesman picking up the speed and becoming successful.
Right. So the solution behind the PBX and VoIP routing is very important.
Yeah.
So and how does Swyx and other companies do that in integrating it in their delivery? What's your thought about it and in relation to the question?
Yeah, so well, I think it's so the question was also, let's say, you say that your salespeople are, let's say, they do not want to touch that really. So I think this is something where let's say companies like us, so we support you here, and also let's say give you a kind of a startup so that salespeople are really willing to touch that and to address customers. But then I think that is something we can certainly help you. And the thing is here was this easiness. I think we can all agree that, let's say, for a simple dial tone thing, it has to be very easy, right? So that is clear. But I think the full opportunity for you guys is really here. So when you think about that, the market is changing now a lot, right? So we go away from this classical TDM, old PBX systems to, let's say, a new world here. And your customers, they ask you questions. So I think you need to be prepared as a host and service provider to come up with a strategy. So what is the market? What are the niches you want to serve? And what is the product you want to pick? Because the customers, so they will ask these questions. Because on the customer side, and we need to talk about this here a bit, it's, let's say, the fundamental changes. In the past, there was a PBX guy responsible at the customer side, so the guy with the black belt of Siemens or Alcatel responsible for all the PBX stuff. Today, it's the IT guy. So the IT guy is taking over, and you are also addressing IT guys here. And to come up with a solution for these guys to address this, I think this is something where you can. It's very beneficial for everyone here, and for you, I think this is a great opportunity here, which you should fully embrace.
Right, interesting. Yeah, so the proposition and adding value to and getting it connected to the target customers. Right? Yeah.
And it's one thing is, let's say, a simple telephony with dial tone and so on, but we're also talking about, let's say, when you go up in the, let's say, to slightly larger customers, they ask for different things. So like customization of the product, call routing, things like this, which is, let's say, should not scare to you, which is you should see this as let's say, an opportunity to sell this, and again the stickiness thing. So the customer stays with you then. So once he's hooked up, he's hooked up. So that's I think that is the thing.
I have a question actually for the hostess here. What's your typical average number of employees by your customers? How many do they have?
All right.
Because that actually puts in perspective the
all
type
right.
of solutions.
So what hosters do have, like beneath 2K of customers, 2K, less than 2K, under 10K, or one person there, 10K users around average?
50,000 K.
And 10,000 users? Yeah.
Okay, it's more the type of customers.
Right.
They have a business with 2 users, 5 users, 10
All right,
users,
the average,
50
yeah,
users.
yeah.
Because that determines the type of solution you should be offering.
Yeah, very good question. So if we look at the segments, which hosters do deliver services around 2 to 5 people in a company? So there's one, and then we have company growth, like half maybe, and then 5 to 20 people, all right, and 20 and above. All right, so it's really spread out, I think. Seems.
So you have 3 different propositions for this type of customers.
So that should also be the message, 3 propositions for 3 different types of companies. I saw, we're coming back to the questions as well, but you had a question, right?
Yeah, it's exactly around this.
All right, all right, here.
So I started, I'm an entrepreneur for 10 years, and I started 10 years ago as an ICT guy. IT guy. And 5 years ago, I specifically chose to do only voice over IP. So I went to courses and I wanted to know everything about PBXs and like call routing and everything. So this is what I'm doing right now for 5 years, and I know everything about voice over IP. I know a little bit of domain names and hosting, but I don't want to do that. Just specifically voice over IP. And all my customers stick with me. So the stickiness has really something to do with the knowledge and how fast you can help your customer.
Right. So a big takeaway.
One call fix, you know.
Yeah. Big takeaway for every hoster here is that you really need to know about the subject and help them very fast to have the stickiness.
So
Good
you
thing, good
so you
thing.
know your customer basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The customers know.
Another way around, it's a two-way street.
Yeah. Great.
Two employees to serve over 100 customers. 2 employees to serve over 100 customers, but everything works, so I only get 2 or 3 calls a day.
Great, unbelievable. So that's also the, you're gonna pause for that, yeah, of course. And then the next subject is has something to do with what we're talking about already, is getting the proposition, to that customer, and also talking about a little bit more about the internationalization, because you have to deal with technology and culture differences in selling VoIP. And my statement is, culture and technology makes it impossible to create one standardized solution for international hosters. So it's impossible to get to create one standardized solution. That's actually what many hosters want. What I feel being at this conference. So have anyone an opinion about this statement?
Yeah, sure. So I think at Mitel, we do think it's possible to have a proposition that is standardized, but the message will be different, because when you really create the packaging, the one we talked about before, we have different sizes and different segments. So you can have one solution. For example, we at Mitel, we have a global platform that works in all markets, but the proposition when you put it together is different. So for example, in the Nordics, the mobile phone is a primary device. We actually have 90% of the users have their mobile as a primary device for enterprise communication. Here in the Benelux area, almost everybody has a desk phone on their desk. That's different things, how you put it to the market, but it's still the same product.
All right. So Rolf.
Agree with that. So we also have, let's say, kind of a menu card, so where there are all the features on the menu card, and each and every country they pick the features relevant for the country and for the target group. I think that's the way to do this. Yeah.
Interesting. So this is also a main subject for you, Greg, because you've been to many countries and helping Summa internationally expand. What do you know about this subject, culture, technology differences?
Yeah, I think you basically have to listen to your partners in channels, understand what they're looking for, and you have to put that in a context. For instance, in Germany, with how you allocate numbers, and so there are certain ways that certain markets work that you need to understand if you're delivering the services. But at the end of the day, let's be honest about it, a phone call, the voice functionality we offer is something that you can offer for all the different types of companies, but they want a different type of profile, a different experience. It might be mobile first, it might be hosted, it might be, in all honesty, I think it becomes more of a mix. How you have different devices and you want to switch from one device to the other when you're in the office. That type of practical things to make the right solution for your customers. And that's what I think all of us are capable of providing, that technology. But at the end of the day, it's understanding what their customers want and what they require.
There's of course one difference so between the countries, like when we talk about cloud solutions, VoIP cloud solutions, there is, let's say, in the Netherlands, there's a tendency that public cloud multi-tenant solutions are, let's say, the thing here. So I think they are, let's say, very popular in the Netherlands. On contrary, in Germany, it's more like private cloud solutions. So and you need to pick, let's say, when you're a hoster and you're active in many countries, so you need to pick a solution where you can also, let's say, support or offer a private cloud solution, because in these countries like Germany is a perfect example, also Switzerland, also some private cloud solutions where the customer has one server which is then standing in your data center is very popular, right? So therefore you need to have, let's say, many flavors of solutions here.
Right. Yeah, I see one question. If anybody else has questions as well, please raise your hand. We're getting to the Q&A right after this subject, but I want to address this directly.
Yeah, sorry, that's
enthusiasm. Right? Yeah, of course.
So yeah, so I think one really practical problem, and the difference between Europe and the USA is in Europe we pay if we want to call, and in the USA you pay if you are being called. So how can we address this problem? Because if I want to have a customer in the USA, the whole thing is totally the other way around.
All right. Does anybody can respond to that? I see Patrick. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it again comes back to sort of how you partner. So you can partner also in the US to have the price plans that allows you for either if you have an international customer, then you can just have internal price plan that works fine. And if you are rather in the situation where you have, let's say, your end customers are in the US, or certain branch offices in the US, so you have this problem that you can partner with a local provider there and provide traffic from that.
Please say your name and your company.
My name is Arthur Rondes. I'm CEO of 24/7SecureIT.net. My question is with regard to encrypted VoIP. Are there any ideas from the panel about deploying encrypted VoIP delivery? How would one do this? What is the overall perception of this? Does one think that this has a market? Do you think there is any demand for it? Those are basically my questions.
Right, thank you. Go ahead. Patrick, I'll take some water for you.
Yeah, so the quick answer from Mitel is that we provide this out of the box. For us, it's obvious that you do encryption when you do public cloud deployments. You have to have encrypted calls because it's provided over internet.
All right, that's an easy answer. And
Same with us.
all right,
Yeah.
so everyone is delivering, and Summa also, and Swyx also. All right. What do you see it? Do you see it more and more in your user base that people are using encrypting services, or not that many?
I would say, let's say, people are asking for this, so as a vendor, you should have it. The usage, I just don't know. So I suspect that it's not very often used, but it's this is something where let's say it's yeah. So you have to have it in your solution. So I think that's for sure.
All right, great. Anyway, all right. Yeah.
So currently you see that hosters are going to emerge into a more IT-oriented company by providing VoIP. What's the next step for them? Connected buildings, smart buildings, connected vehicles. Not sure, how do you adapt to that as a telecommunication provider to that trend? Because the future is not tomorrow, it's today. Do you have some takeaways for the hoster? Because in my opinion, hosters are more than purely a services hub. Well, they will become more a services hub than they are now currently as a hoster, but do you have something for them to share? What's your opinion about it?
Patrick? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think at Mitel we build all our solution on open APIs, and that means that you can combine the location-based services or devices to our communication solution in a way that allows the hosters to put together solutions that does this together. I think it's dangerous as a manufacturer to try to do everything and lock it in. But it is an important trend.
I agree. I think with innovation, we don't know what's going to come and who's going to be in the lead. And I think if you API enable your platform, then you can make the interworking possible. And I think the same question goes to where do you communicate in the future, which I think will be probably the last question.
That's right.
So I won't give an answer on that one.
Does anybody else have questions? Maybe guys over there on the right side, because I didn't look at it too much. No? Middle somewhere? Yeah, there. Please your name and your...
Hi, Elliot from Leaseweb. Which one of you guys use a host of different hosting companies, or do you prefer to try and build your strategy around 1, 2, 3, or do you determine it by countries that you're focusing on? How do you define your strategy?
Yeah, for our company, it's customer driven. So we work, for instance, with a company, Open Exchange, and they work with lots of hosters. We embed our functionality in their solution, and they'll have their different deployment models, and we'll fit in with that and support it. And of course, with communications, you have some limitations in performance, for instance. So if you do video conferencing, you have to have that platform based, if you do group calls, for instance, based in a certain geographical location for your performance elements. But for instance, chat, you could have that in on-premise deployment as a simple example. So if we build our software in a smart way, we make that flexible, and then our partners can decide how and what they do, as long as we can support that in an effective way.
Okay, that's an answer to your question. All right, thanks. All right, one final moment and chance to ask your questions. Otherwise, you can, of course, extend your conversations outside this panel. Anyone questions? Yeah, I'm also very curious to ask my experts what their, the future of communication in hosting, what their opinion is about that. So, what's your counterintuitive, half crazy prediction about the next 5 years regarding VoIP and hosting integration? What do you think about it? And who wants to start? Robert?
Yeah, I'd like to start. Well, what we see is developments like WebRTC, obviously, where a client is not necessarily needed anymore to start a communication. We can see companies turning in some sort of, or turning into call center environments where it's all organized as if it was a call center. Furthermore, contextual communication, so the starting of a communication session from another application. Those are the big developments we are looking for.
Right, interesting. Patrick?
So I think it's a couple of different things. So one of them is the context-based communication. So I think what will be much more common is that you start with one medium and then move to another one. So maybe you start often with a text-based communication, often through a web browser or web page, and then moving into a voice or video or collaboration session or screen sharing or whatever. And that's not going to be for tech geeks anymore, it's going to be for end users. I think the other part is going to be a continuation of what we've talked about today, where people will move more towards mobile communication. That would be a trend going everywhere.
Right. Thank you. Greg?
I don't think we'll be talking about VoIP in 5 years. I think we'll be talking about how we communicate, and I think it will become a user-centric experience based upon the fact that we all work in all different applications, you have different communication streams, you need to manage them, get an overview as you, the user, would like to have that, and we make that possible. And whether that's voice, video, chat, inter-application communication, huddle rooms, whatever, it will take place because there'll come, for sure, one or two very disruptive business models will come in the market from whether it's a leading app or an Apple or a Google or Facebook that will come up with a very disruptive business model, will change the whole way we do communication. So I think that's what will happen.
Right, interesting. Great, thank you.
Yeah, don't want to repeat what the gentleman said before, but I think one thing I think is very clear here. So when I look at the market landscape here, some of the, let's say, PBX UC manufacturers, where we well-known ones, will maybe no longer exist, and this market is open for new companies. It's open for, let's say, companies who are, let's say, putting their bets here on the cloud space, and I think that's something which is for you and also for us. I think a great opportunity, let's say, to just make more business.
All right, thank you.
Attention, Reseller Club presents.
All right, that's our announcement, but we're almost finished. But before we finish, I want to give you the time to ask your questions to your fellow experts. Robert, what question do you want to ask one of your experts?
We give away a prize.
A question, is there a prize?
Is there a prize?
You want it's a question for Patrick, actually, because there are so many hosted voice solutions in the market. What would you say is key for partners, for instance, in Holland, if they are looking for a solution, what should they do?
However, we will be giving
So I think
away one lucky winner.
two main devices. One, it should be an open platform, so you're not relying only on one vendor, but that you can complement that with other vendors in the
Once they give me the
ecosystem.
winner.
The other part I would say is that it needs to be a solution that is future-proof, so you're not depending on projects or other costs that comes in when you need to move ahead, because this is a market that is moving very fast forward, and I can assure you that whoever you select, they will not have everything today that you need tomorrow, and you need to ensure that you get that without additional costs.
Wear your HostingCon badge.
Patrick, do you have any questions for your fellow experts?
And maybe I can turn around to Robert then. So, what would you think that Motto's main sort of contribution or value would be to the channel?
Depending on how you tell them.
Yeah, well, as explained earlier, I think it's the most important aspect is that we try to organize the channel and make sure that we believe in an indirect channel in any case in Holland. So our business partners need to be enabled to deliver the workspace from the cloud as easy as possible. And I understand that the application is not easy for the end user, but the partner should have an easy life delivering a full service. That's
right. Great. Do you have a question, Greg, for your fellow?
For Ralph, yeah. What would you see as your most important channel in 3 years' time?
Well, our channel today is very much, let's say, the carriers and service providers together with the resellers, and I think I'm always, let's say, about, let's say, to have a right channel mix here. So, and that is something where I like to balance that out between carrier service providers and resellers on the other hand. So that's critical.
Thanks, Rob.
Right,
And
great,
the winner
thanks.
is
Rolf, do you have a question for
Anthony.
Where do you see your company in 5 years?
Will either fly or die. So I think very simple answer. Now I think what we're looking to do is we've built a lot of hands-on expertise in hosted voice, mobile, innovation, in a service provider model. We're trying to make that software expertise in a wholesale model. If we find the right partnerships and the right combination of services and user experience, and I think it's all about user experience, and we do it the right channels, then we'll be hopefully a very successful company. But it's all about sales at the end of the day. For you guys as well, it's how can we sell, how can we be successful, and for instance, how can you bring, let's say, communication, not VoIP, into your portfolio.
Guido,
Yes.
I got one question for the
Right.
panel. As we are aware that communication by everybody, well, almost half of our age these days, they use Instagram, they use Snapchat. How do you adapt as software vendor and as platform vendor to that type of communication in the future? Because what you now see is that people are communicating with WhatsApp, and we see the over-the-top application from Facebook and from Google. Shut up. And how do you adapt to that movement? Within 5 years, we will probably Snapchat communication, then interact.
It's a good question. I think it will become like identity. You'll have an identity in the future. Is that identity your mobile number? Is it your email address? Is your ID in Snapchat? I think it's where the users sit, and we have to make the interworking possible. And again, I come back to the fact that I think people will have multiple applications where they're communicating, private, business, and it's the way of interworking that will be key to how you help them and how you help yourself to stay relevant for them.
I think the key question I think for all of us is so where do we want to, let's say, develop things by ourselves, and where do we think about best of breed solutions which we integrate here? So about through APIs and other things, and I think that is something each and every company has to, let's say, come to the answers for that.
Right, thank you. I think those are also a good, it's a good summary of what we talked about. Integration and tailor-making your proposition to your client segment. Those are very interesting and important things to take in your mind, to take away. And I trust in you that you wrote down many other things that are pretty interesting and learned from the session. Yes, I want to thank Robert, Patrick, and Greg and Rolf to be here and to share their knowledge openly, because in some way they're competitors, but we're a really an open group, and I feel it as well as the VoIP industry as well. And, thank you for your time here. Give them applause. And with this with this slide, I want to end this panel, and I want to thank you for your cooperation and thinking with us, because that's very important to learn. Go ahead. Applause for yourself.
Now it's time for open bar.
Ja, hier. Hier, op zo'n tafel.